everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is the show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books, Deadpools, Wolverines, multiverses, TVAs, all of it. Skibbity toilets. Oh, you wait, everybody. Just you wait. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Roxy Stryer. Good morning, Roxy.
Good morning, DJ.
Oh, my goodness. So we had the wonderful opportunity to check out Deadpool and Wolverine earlier in the week. And as of this recording, because we record this Fridays and it's going to go up Monday. If you want to see my spoiler-free review, you can check that over at my personal channel, DJ Talks Trash. I'm also doing this new show, this one-on-one discussion show called Trash Talk with DJ Talks Trash. Please go check that out. If you listen to this show on Spotify, we've been doing polls over there. For last week's episode, we asked, was The Boys Season 4 too focused on setting up Season 5? Roxy, the answers were yes and no. How do you think the audience reacted?
People said yes.
72% of the vote, 72.7, so almost 73% said yes, and 27% said no.
Yeah, I'm a no, but I knew that the people would be saying yes because that's what the internet's been telling me, even though that's not how I feel.
If you want to watch this show live and chat with Roxy while DJ has to go set up part of the show, you can do that over.
We had fun, DJ. We had a blast. We had Brad.
You can do that over at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. And thanks to everybody who is a patron and helps support this show. We could not do without you. And speaking of support, when this episode drops, we are in the final days of the campaign, the Kickstarter campaign for the collected edition of my comic Hellbent. Please go over to hellbentcomicbook.com if you haven't picked it up and go grab a copy. You will be getting those. The campaign is funded. So right now we're working on our first stretch goal, which will include a new short story illustrated by Rye Hickman. We are like 8 backers away from that. And I'm going to be real with you all. For some reason, we are buried in the algorithm on Kickstarter. People are not finding this thing organically. Like we're way down the page, which has not been the case for our previous campaigns. So tell your friends.
Why are you not pushing your child already, DJ? I have child on the way. Yeah. Give me support, please, and thank you.
Now is a good time. I do have a kid on the way. Now is a good time if you're not a patron to check out the Patreon. And if you're not supporting my Kickstarter, ooh, it's much appreciated. This collects all 3 volumes of Hellbent plus some brand new stories. So if you've never checked out Hellbent before, you will get the entire saga in one deluxe softcover. If you have checked it out before, there is new content in this, new stories, a full cover gallery, concept art, everything you could ever want, all in one place. So, and there's also there have been tarot cards in previous campaigns. There's a brand new one for this that you can get to complete your collection. There's a lot of incredibly cool stuff. Like I said, we're only like 8 backers away from reaching our next stretch goal. So, if you haven't supported it already, go to hellbentcomicbook.com. Please support it. If you have supported it, please go tell your friends to check it out. Because like I said, Kickstarter ain't doing us any favors this time. So give it some love, please, and thank you. And for patrons who are already supporting this show, there is an extra bonus reward, a special sticker that you will get if you're a patron of this show and you go support the Kickstarter. We're going to throw in a little extra bonus for you. So please go check that out.
Should you make your Kickstarter Brat? And would that help?
Charlie X, is it XCX? Is that who? Is that? Yeah, get her on the phone and have her rubber stamp me as Brat.
That's the only possible move you could do.
That's my only maneuver. That's my only move that I could make. And you know what? I'll look into it. I'll get my team to look into it. But
yes, we know. Here's
what we need to look into first. For news, we need to look into this little thing because it's going to become, it's going to be a movie. It's going to be a TV show. We need to brush up on it because Roxy and I are not the target demographic for Skibbity Toilet. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I've got some breaking news. I'm sorry to cut in. I know everybody's excited to hear our thoughts on Skibbity Toilet, but I'm just getting breaking news straight from SDCC. The Marvel Studios panel in Hall H has been commencing over the weekend. We record our shows on Friday, which of course predates Marvel's Saturday panel. But I just wanted to cut in. It's just me. You're just going to be hearing my thoughts as we get these straight from the Comic-Con floor. I wanted this episode to be up to date. So we're going to go through real quick for news. If you want to hear our thoughts on Skibbity Toilet, you can check that out at patreon.com/onlystupid for those that watch live. You're welcome. But here is what we got from Marvel Studios Hall H panel at Comic-Con 2024. Apparently, they started off with Captain America Brave New World news. We are getting these sources primarily from IGN and Polygon. Apparently, the panel opened with a Deadpool and Wolverine dance number, and they got some first look footage at Captain America Brave New World that apparently focuses on Harrison Ford's Thunderbolt Ross, who wants Sam Wilson to rebuild the Avengers. They're looking, apparently Thunderbolt Ross is feeling the same urge that Kevin Feige is. We need to get some new Avengers blood in there. And apparently we also learn about where adamantium comes from in the Sacred Timeline MCU. And apparently, if what I'm hearing is correct, if what our sources are saying is correct, it comes from the unborn celestial that is coming out of the ground at the end of Eternals that's stuck there. Apparently, Brave New World of all movies is the one that's following up on that. Apparently, it's a diplomatic issue, but they're mining adamantium from it, which I personally think is pretty cool. I'm fine if adamantium is just a metal, but hey, saying it's Eternals celestial, it's not, it's the Eternals movie, but it's celestial ore, I think is pretty cool. How are they getting it off the celestial? Considering it's an unbreakable metal? Who knows? But hey, man, this is what you're always struggling with magical unbreakable metals. How did they melt it down to put it into Wolverine? Who knows? All right, we also get the reveal that Giancarlo Esposito will be playing, drumroll, is it Professor X? No, of course it's not. It is the King of the Serpent Society, Seth Volker, a.k.a. Sidewinder. It is a little weird. I think we've known for a while that the Serpent Society are the villains of that movie, or a villainous group of that movie. It is weird that their leader is being introduced so late in the game. Wild. All right. Then they moved on to Thunderbolts. No, we do not find out what the asterisk means. It's probably going to be something dumb like Thunderbolts versus Sentry, or Thunderbolts and the Punisher, or something like that. I actually wouldn't be surprised by that I think Daredevil Born Again drops before Thunderbolts, and if that's the case, maybe that sets up like Thunderbolts and the Punisher. Anyway, whatever. I have no basis for that. Just throwing that out there. Apparently, we got some first look footage of that, early footage of the film. David Harbour showed up in costume. Apparently, he was the only cast member that showed up in costume. There's a bit about it. That movie drops on May 5th, 2025. Now, all right. Y'all ready? This is where we get into the big stuff. Fantastic Four. There was a whole drone show over at Comic-Con. I think it was opening night that showed utilized the Fantastic Four and Galactus. So we kind of assumed in this panel we would be getting news about the Fantastic Four movie, and we did. And now has a subtitle: The Fantastic Four First Steps. It is confirmed, I believe it is confirmed to be taking place in an alternate retro future version of the 60s. So it is officially an alternate universe story. If you've watched this show, you know how I feel about that, which is not great. I don't need the Fantastic Four to have a super complicated backstory introduction into the MCU. Just have the Fantastic Four show up in the MCU. I don't love the idea that they're coming from an alternate reality. And then one presumes, jumping ahead, we know they're going to be in the next Avengers movie. So dealing with all the multiverse shenanigans, it's just convoluted. Just introduce your Fantastic Four. Anyway, they have not started filming yet. However, they did apparently show the guests test footage, which included Mr. Fantastic leading an old school science program a la Mr. Wizard, the three fellas taking part in an old 60s style dating show. It sounds like they're like from silhouette, and the girl chooses Ben Grimm, the Thing, but you can tell from the silhouette that it's full of the Rocky form, the Thing, which I actually think is pretty funny. Those are and apparently part of the test footage we see early shots of Galactus. It sounds like we see his reflection in windows, but it is full on purple helmeted Galactus, not a cloud of evil dust. So that's great. That is a promising sign. All right, gang. Now you might be wondering, what about Doctor Doom? And we get that in the form of two things. One, Avengers King Dynasty is out, baby. We are done with it. No more Avengers King Dynasty. The next Avengers movie has a different subtitle. It is Avengers Doomsday. And the villain is, we're putting Kang on the shelf and we're bringing in Doctor Doom. So who is playing Doctor Doom? Well, apparently they had a big major reveal. And if you're watching this show, you're a fan of this stuff, you probably already heard that Robert Downey Jr. is returning as Doctor Doom, which I feel like your mileage may vary on that. I feel like this is the perfect type of SDCC Comic-Con Hall H reveal. I bet you that crowd went wild and lost their minds. They're the true believers. They're the converted. They're all going to be 100% on board with this stuff. Me, this kind of feels like a desperate move on their part, because not only is Robert Downey Jr. returning, but the Russos are returning to direct the next two Avengers movies. So this feels, it can't help but feel a little bit panicked, looking a little bit at the box office returns from previous movies and trying to return to safe bets. My problem with this is, one, Robert Downey Jr. I think is a fantastic actor. I loved him as Tony Stark. Tony Stark is not Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is not fast-talking, quippy, hotshot guy. That's not Doom. Doom is more gravitas. Doom is more I guess Tony Stark's pretty self-important, but, like, Doom wants to rule the world. Doom is more regal. He's a king. He's the king of Latveria. I'm not saying Robert Downey Jr. could not nail these things. I'm just saying he wouldn't be my first pick, and it also dives more into the fact that, like, there's no way RDJ is going to be our Doom moving forward. And so this feels like a temp Doom. With this announcement, we still haven't met who our sacred timeline Doom is. And I think this implies that there's 100%, it feels like there's almost 100% going to be a reboot post Secret Wars. We're not going to leave the Fantastic Four isolated off in their own multiverse world. We're not going to have RDJ be our final Doctor Doom. And so it kind of feels like kicking the can down the road. And as you guys will come to learn as you watch the rest of this episode, I'm burned out on this whole multiverse thing. It feels like a way to avoid doing actual storytelling and actually getting your characters involved, your audience, involved in your characters and what they're doing. So it's hard for me to be excited for this announcement. We do know apparently a phrase that was being thrown around was new mask, same task. Robert Downey Jr. said, "What can I tell you? I like playing complicated characters. Doom is complicated. With the new mask, same task. I feel like it's safe to go back to Age of Ultron, where Iron Man talked about putting armor over the world. We know in the Fantastic Four movie we're dealing with Galactus. He is a planet eater, so that is a threat to the planet. Since we know the Fantastic Four are not going to be staying on that Earth, one presumes for the two Avengers movies they're going to be a part of. It's not unheard of that maybe, it's not impossible that maybe Galactus destroys their world and they are refugees from that world to ours, along with Doctor Doom. And everything Doctor Doom does in Secret Wars is in response to losing his homeworld. Sure, that's fine. But it is convoluted. It's just a complicated way of introducing this stuff. And I think there is a world where this could work, where audiences love Robert Downey Jr. and they're going to show up for him. But I think you could also frame it that maybe audiences loved RDJ as Iron Man. And so having him as a new character is more confusing than it is beneficial. And I think that's been a problem with this entire multiverse endeavor, is it takes Marvel's already complicated continuity and makes it almost impenetrable. Like, it's really hard to follow who's playing what, where, and how without like entries like this or shows like this one right here. And so I think this could backfire on them more than they anticipate, more than just doing a Fantastic Four movie. If they just did a Fantastic Four movie set in the MCU with a new Doctor Doom and built from there and built audience familiarity from there, and then maybe you have an opportunity to introduce new wild variants of Doctor Doom. Because with this announcement, it feels like, okay, so I'm still not meeting the Doctor Doom. I'm meeting a Doctor Doom, which is a bummer. It's a bummer. And as somebody that's really hoping that Marvel starts introducing their own versions of the X-Men, it's like, all right, so it sounds like we're probably going to be stuck with the Fox X-Men for a little bit longer. And it just feels like a mess. It honestly feels like a mess. It honestly feels a little bit desperate. It's kind of sucked my excitement out of Fantastic Four and the upcoming Avengers movies. And I don't know that I'm the only one, but let me know in the comments how you feel, if this news is exciting for you, if you're looking forward to RDJ being Doctor Doom. If RDJ's not your first pick for Doctor Doom, who would you have liked to have seen cast as Doctor Doom? And how do you think these movies are going to go? I got to think that if you're James Gunn, coming off set from Superman, seeing these announcements, you got to be feeling pretty good about your chances, DC's chances right now, because for once in a long time, DC feels like a safer bet. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are Marvel's panel. That's Marvel's panel at SDCC. Obviously, there were a bunch of other announcements. I'd love to get into Vault Rising over in the Boys universe, stuff like that. We will probably discuss that on a future episode of this show. Let me know what your favorite announcements were at Comic-Con. Let me know what you think about Marvel's Hall H panel. And now let's get down to the good stuff. Let's get down to Deadpool and Wolverine. Here's what y'all signed up for. Here's what you're all really here for. And that is Deadpool and Wolverine.
This skibbity toilet.
Deadpool and Wolverine is brat, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Deadpool
and Wolverine is brat.
Is brat. Officially, we've decided it here. The synopsis is Wolverine is recovering. What? Oh, I guess so. Okay, Wolverine is recovering from his injuries when he crosses paths with loudmouth Deadpool. They team up to defeat a common enemy. That wasn't a good synopsis, IMDb. You guys need to brush up on that one. It's directed by Sean Levy, written by Sean Levy, Rhett Reese, Ryan Reynolds, Zeb Wells, and Paul Wernick. Right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 79% and an audience score of 97%. Ryan Reynolds makes himself at home in the MCU with acerbic wit, while Hugh Jackman provides an adamantium backbone to proceedings in Deadpool and Wolverine, and a reverent romp with a surprising soft spot for a bygone era of superhero movies. Roxy, we're going to open this spoiler-free. I know you did your reaction coming out of the theater, and I did my spoiler-free review on DJ Talks Trash, but we'll keep it spoiler-free to begin with. What are your spoiler-free thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine?
For the people at home, DJ and I sat next to each other for this one. We never sit next to each other. It was so fun, except for the fact that I know how he felt going out of this more than I wanted to know, because usually it's totally a surprise coming to here, knowing how he felt. And this time I was like, I could feel him the entire movie.
Okay, in my defense, I don't remember seeing you laugh once.
I was like cackling, DJ.
So I'm just saying, perception.
I don't know how that's possible. I was literally like, he's going to kill me, because I was like, like laughing my ass off. I thought this was like straight up a perfect movie. It's like a 9.5 out of 10 for me. I loved this movie. I love these two characters. I like this movie better than I liked Logan, which I'm saying because when I was like, I think this is my favorite of the Deadpool movies, people were like, that's like not saying much. And I loved the other Deadpool movies. So for me, that is saying much. And I liked Logan, but I liked this better. I enjoyed this movie so much more. Mm-hmm. And I really like Logan, but people who are like, it's their favorite movie, it is not my favorite movie.
Yeah.
I just thought that this was such a good time from beginning to end. I had a smile on my face the whole time. I was totally in my feels by the end. I missed trailers on this, so every reveal was like a for me. Yeah. There were so many surprises, but I thought that they weren't just there for like cameo purposes. I felt like we really gave people things to do, especially one of them that I had no idea was going to be in this. Mm-hmm. I feel like we really gave them a legitimate role, which was really cool. And I love the plot. This just worked on every level for me. I was shocked that when I got out that people were like mid on it. Our critic screening seemed to be very, very like, that was good. There's parts, and I was like, what? So I was surprised because I felt like most people in there were having the same reaction I was. And I guess maybe they weren't. This is a 98% Rotten Tomatoes audience score and an 80% critic score. And I think both those are
79.97 when I was putting this together this morning.
What was it?
79.97. 79 Rotten Tomatoes
So
score,
so
97.
I was off by 1%.
Basically, yeah, 1 point. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I checked last night. Sorry, DJ.
No, you're good.
Actually, it is 89 and 97. But those are two extraordinarily high scores. The audience score being significantly higher, but I think that like anybody who went and saw this and thought that it was more rotten than fresh, I like just can't even fathom.
Well, segue to me. Segue to me. I am not caveat. I'm not the biggest Deadpool boy. I think a little bit of Deadpool goes a long way. I'm one of the few people that likes Deadpool 2 more than Deadpool 1 because it allows him to bounce off. He is less reliant on him. He's got Cable to bounce off of and Domino to bounce off of. And
Did you love Deadpool 2 though, or you just thought it was okay?
I thought it was pretty good. For a Deadpool. Also, this is pertinent to this. The action was way better directed than either other Deadpool. I think this is easily, if you look at the MCU, the Marvel Studios apparatus, as an ongoing show, this is the closest they've gotten to a clip show episode where like, hey, remember this? Hey, do you remember this episode? Hey, do you remember when this happened? Hey, do you remember? And that's pretty much the entire movie. Like the whole movie is just, cherry picking stuff from the last like 20 years of superhero movies. And I'll be interested to hear with people that aren't like you and me, Roxy, that are hugely steeped in all of the lore around these movies. I'll be interested to see their reaction because I would assume one of the appealing things about the Deadpools of it is that you don't need, it's much more accessible. Technically Deadpool is a part of Fox's X-Men universe, technically, but it's removed enough from that you don't need to keep track of the Days of Future Pasts of it all or the X2s or any of that to follow Deadpool. Entering Deadpool 3, so I was surprised with Deadpool and Wolverine that it kind of expects you to not only be familiar with the Deadpool movies, but Logan, most of the Fox movies, a good chunk of the MCU, at least one Disney Plus show. And the off-screen, there's jokes, keeping it spoiler free, there's jokes in this movie that rely on you to know about movies that were not made. Movies that were like
one Disney Plus show.
At least Loki. They specifically call out an episode of they introduce a plot point that Deadpool has to look at the camera and like, yeah, you remember from Loki season 1, episode 5?
Yeah, but if you hadn't watched Loki, you still would have been understanding what happened.
I don't know that that's true. I don't think that that's true. And this movie is so beholden to what has come before that both Deadpool and Wolverine's entire arcs are pulled from other movies. Deadpool's doing the same thing he was doing in Deadpool 1. It was like, I need to prove myself to Vanessa. And Wolverine's doing the same thing he was doing in Logan. Like, I fucked up. Can I redeem myself? It's the same arcs. So I don't think there are jokes in this movie that are like that I like. There's callbacks in this movie that I think are fun. But I would argue that this isn't really even a movie as much as, again, like I'd say, like a clip show of other, which is kind of tough. Like it's tough to be like, hey, remember how good Logan was? This isn't that. And not even, there's specific, they try to quote movies like Mad Max Fury Road. And it's like, well, don't do that because you're not
Why?
This. You're just making me think of better movies. It's like, oh yeah, that movie was way better than this movie.
I so don't get any of your points.
Okay.
You don't like that this was involved in like that this was a pop culture reference as a Deadpool movie?
I don't like that there's nothing beyond, there's no meat on those bones. There's not really even a movie here. We're not really even it's just references. It's basically
it's not a movie.
It's just basically the member berries from South Park. The whole movie's like, hey, remember this scene from this movie?
So you don't think there's a plot to this movie?
I think the plot is really thin and really shallow, and also something we've done. That's what I'm saying. Like the Wolverine's arc in this movie, he did in Logan. We've seen that before. It's a repeat. Deadpool's arc in this movie is the same arc from Deadpool 1.
Untrue, DJ.
What do you mean? It's the exact Logan's arc in this is the exact same as Logan 1 as Logan.
Without giving spoilers, I can't say what I mean, but
okay.
I don't even understand what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Like what? I'm wondering what you think happened in Logan.
Well, we'll talk about it, but it also doesn't help that I think this is a very ugly, cheap-looking movie. And
You didn't like the way it looked?
no, it basically looked like it was filmed like a Power Rangers episode. Like, hey, let's go out to the quarry and film these guys running around in costumes.
What? What parts?
The whole part where they're in the dusty quarry for 90% of the movie.
You didn't like that's the part that you didn't like. Not
No,
90% of the
dude,
movie.
it's a
Oh my
quarry,
God.
it's some woods, it's the cheapest locations imaginable. And then the sets we've got left over from Loki. Those were the only good looking sets, the ones we stole from Loki.
So you don't like I'm gonna call it the desert set. You don't like the desert set.
I just think it's boring and it's cheap. And I think the action was very like muddy and
No,
unengaging.
So expensive to me.
Oh, well, I mean, they clearly was expensive. They doubled the budget from Deadpool 2, which was double the budget of Deadpool 1. So it definitely was expensive. I just don't know where the money went other than the cameos. But listen, I think that's enough spoiler-free talk because I want to get through.
Can you say something you liked, or you really hated it that much? There's nothing.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. It's just there's nothing there. There's just not even.
There's not one part you like.
There's a couple spoiler stuff that I thought was executed pretty well. That was entertaining. I think okay, yeah, no, that's a good question because I think Hugh Jackman's great. And I think Hugh Jackman could do this role in his sleep. And I think even though they're asking him to basically play the hits, he is so good that he's able to find new layers to that and bring stuff out of that really, this is a good reminder. Even though the movie barely focuses on Wolverine, it's a good reminder of how good he is in the role. And I also want to shout out specifically Emma Corrin as Cassandra Nova is fantastic. They are so great in that part. And I thought they were electric in the role. And I think we've seen them in Murder at the End of the World, right?
Yeah.
And
The Crown.
I didn't watch The Crown, but I knew they were in that. I think there was another thing I saw them in. They're great. They're really great.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah.
It seems like they're very close to with Ryan and Sean and Hugh. It seemed like they had, like the four of them had a little posse because all the pictures are the four of them, and
Good.
Like, all the captions are like squad or whatever.
Yeah, and I imagine this was a really fun set to work on. Sean Levy has worked with Ryan Reynolds in 2 previous movies, and he's worked with Hugh Jackman, I believe, on Real Steel, which I haven't seen. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are real life close friends, which is really cool. And so I imagine it was a really fun set to be on. And it's not that there are worse MCU movies. There's Quantumania, there's Love and Thunder. It's not that there's not things that it's not like a worst watch. It's not like a chore to watch. It's just one of those, like, when you see people like, this saves the MCU. I'm like, honestly, this is everything bad about the MCU right now. Like, if you told me that this is what Secret Wars is going to be, it's just going to be like a parade of callbacks and references. It's like, I think I'm good, man. I think I'm tapped out on the whole multiverse thing. I think I'm good on it.
This is in your bottom 5.
Let's see. I put it in my bottom 5 of which list am I looking? Because this one went my 2024 list, my X-Men list, and my MCU list. MCU. I've broken up my MCU into the different sagas. So if I go to this is my letterbox, everybody, if you want to go follow me over there. Let's see. It is in my bottom 6. Just beneath Shang-Chi and just above Echo.
Oh, you did the TV shows too?
Yes.
This is in your bottom 6, including TV shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is below this?
Echo, Secret Invasion, Quantumania, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Moon Knight. So this just escaped the, like, this is right next to Echo and, like, fine.
I need to ask you this, and you can answer this as annoyed with me as you want.
Yeah.
But if the feedback for this wasn't so dominantly positive, would you like it more?
I actually
was it the expectations or like the comments around you that by comparison you don't like it, or really in a vacuum, which we can't possibly know, but thinking about it in a vacuum, do you really feel like you would have really, this would be that low on your list?
Yes. Also, I don't know that the feedback is overwhelmingly positive. Fan reaction wise, critic wise, a lot of the criticism I'm seeing it lines up with my own. And also on Metacritic, this only has it's only 1 point higher than The Flash. It's like really low on Metacritic. Excuse me, Flash is 1 point higher than Deadpool and Wolverine, which that I actually don't agree with. I actually think Flash is worse than this movie. I think they have a similar problem in that they're too beholden to what's come before. But
critics love Flash, I thought.
No.
Really?
No.
Wait, I want to see. I'm pretty sure Flash is fresh.
Let's see. Let's see about that. Let's see. The Flash.
63, so it is fresh, but that's not loved. An 83 audience, but not disliked.
Well, let's go. Hold on. Let's go to Metacritic. Boom.
I don't ever use Metacritic.
I was just seeing the headlines. I don't typically either, even though I have. So like on Metacritic, it has the difference between Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, as far as I understand it, is it's more weighted. So if you gave, because Rotten Tomatoes is just binary, if you gave Deadpool like a 76%, that's still fresh, even though it's kind of a low review. Metacritic's more weighted. So after 50,
is it?
Yeah, after 54 critic reviews, Deadpool and Wolverine has a 56, which is a mixed or average on Metacritic. Let's look up The Flash. It has a 55.
8.3.
Oh, good. No, that makes sense. So Flash is 55, which is also mixed to average. So Deadpool and Wolverine.
What is the 8.3 user score thing? That's like audience?
On Metacritic, I believe so. 5.5. Let's see.
Yeah, great question from Mike Joyce. You thought Iron Man 2 and Thor 2 were better than this movie.
I don't know.
You thought Dark World was better than this.
Everybody, I told you. That's my multiverse saga list. So that doesn't include anything from phases 1, 2, and 3 on my Letterboxd.
Oh no, we thought that you said I broke them up. I thought you were adding them together.
No, that's what I'm saying. I broke up. That's my Letterboxd for the multiverse saga. So that doesn't include anything from phases 1, 2, and 3.
So how many movies are in that in total? And shows.
In the multiverse saga Letterboxd, let's see. It's going to be more than you think. That is
I missed that too, Mike.
22 films. It's total film. 22 projects, and the Infinity Saga is 23. So even though the multiverse saga has been around half as long, it has almost as many projects.
I thought that this was the bottom 6 of the 50 things that you were saying.
No. I kept them separate because I didn't see the merit in having that big a list and keeping track of that many things. I don't care about the MCU that much to do a full. I'll just bank them off into the sagas. Would it be better?
So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it would fall on the full. Definitely not better than. I actually think Thor 1's worse than Thor 2 personally. When I went back and rewatched them, I think Thor 1 is quite bad.
You do not think Thor 2 is quite bad?
Yes, they are both. All but one of the Thors are bad. Unfortunately, we've had trouble cracking the Thor formula. Apparently,
Ragnarok is so good.
Ragnarok is good. I don't know that I would argue it is so good.
Oh, I think it's so good.
But
I like Thor 1 fine. Thor 2, I think, is maybe the worst movie in the MCU. And not maybe. I think it is.
It's down there. It's Thor 2's bad. This is not me arguing that Thor 2 is good. It's just when I went and rewatched them, whenever I rewatched them, I was surprised at how bad Thor 1 also was. And it is a bummer. And I will tell you this, even though I like Ragnarok, I don't love it as much as other people, but I like it. It is significantly better than every other Thor. Every other Thor Ragnarok clowns every other Thor movie, which is a bummer because I like Chris Hemsworth and I think he's good in the role. And I don't know why we struggle so much with the Thor movies, but this isn't the Thor cast.
I'm so nervous about this discussion right now, DJ.
Listen, right now we're just going to go through the movie. We're just going to go through the movie now. There's nothing that we just had the discussion. The discussion is you loved it. I didn't love it. But if y'all did love it, God bless. God bless.
Yeah, of course. You hope people, you and me, are the same in that way.
Yeah.
Like you want everybody to love movies.
Yeah.
Because no shit, we root for things.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break it down.
Okay, so this open, and so again, if you guys have not seen the movie, anybody that has not seen the movie, this is where we're going to get into spoilers, specific spoilers, and I do not want to spoil it for anybody.
We've already been confirmed that Mike, Leonard, Noreen, and Maya have all seen the movie.
These are the people watching live. Yeah, these are the people watching live.
Those are the people commenting live.
Commenting live. Yeah.
If you're in here and you're not commenting, we don't know. Yeah. But beat it.
And I don't, and I was surprised at how much the trailers did spoil, but we don't want to add to that here. So there's your warning. And now we're going to get into the movie. Opens with Deadpool desecrating Wolverine's corpse from Logan. We had a comment from Mike Joyce relating to that. Having seen it, can you name a better opening credit scene than the one in Deadpool and Wolverine? I loved it. Also, how mad are you that we never got... Oh, nope, this is for later. I'm
so with you. I loved this opening credit scene. I was grooving and moving. I thought that it looked so unbelievable. I'm seeing in the chat that Noreen said the CGI didn't look that good at the beginning of the movies during the opening credits. I don't know whether I have a different standard than you do, or we were watching two different movies, but to me, watching that opening credit scene, I was like, I am 100% positive I'm going to like this movie. They are just coming in. Like, I love when Ryan Reynolds is like, yo, you guys want us to respect the grave of Logan? Well, that's not what this movie is. Yeah. And then we watch this like epic dance choreographed beheading, shredding, like to an absolute banger. I loved this opening credit scene. Loved. DJ, did you know immediately the same way that I knew this is for me? Were you like, uh-oh?
Not uh-oh, in that I knew it was a Deadpool. And it's like, yeah, this is a Deadpool. This is not the stuff I care about. This is not how Deadpool wins me over. But it wasn't that. When was my uh-oh? Oh, no, actually, I can tell you right when my uh-oh was. Because it's the next thing. So after this opening sequence, we do, Deadpool loves this. We start in media res, and then we go back like, here's how I got into this crazy situation. And we see that Wade is applying to join the Avengers. It specifically says on screen Earth 616, which is, we've established that within the MCU movies, that's where they take place, even though in the greater Marvel continuity, that's not the Earth designation of MCU. But anyway, and then he's applying for the Avengers with Happy Hogan. He gets rejected. And then we jump back to his Earth, the Fox X-Men universe Earth. And we never explain. And I was like, wait, are we going to explain how he's traveling the multiverse already? And we don't. And that was when I was like, oh, so none of this matters. I don't need to care about anything that's happening here because we're not going to pay attention to those details. Got it. That was
we talked about this a bit afterwards, but like, I know that you are distinguishing the difference between traveling through time and traveling through dimension or universe. And to me, I'm just suspending my disbelief. Like, all right, you can do one, you can do the other. I'm fine.
I think the fact that, and I think you're not alone in that, it seems like the Marvel Brain Trust treats it the same way. And I really wish, if we're going to bank our entire slate of movies around the multiverse, if they just sat down and they came up with a set of rules that I think that would be, to me, that would be really beneficial because it immediately takes me out of like, if I feel like you guys don't care, why am I supposed to care?
Yeah, I mean, I will give you a few things. Number one, if you don't love multiverse stuff anymore, or you feel exhausted by multiverse stuff, the entire MCU direction is not going to work for you.
Yeah,
because especially like in this movie, but in what we have prepped for the future and in all low-key things and most things that we've seen recently, of course, if you're not enjoying the multiverse aspects, this is going to suck.
Yeah, because it's a lot of that. That's where we are. That's where we are. That's what we're doing. We're committed. We're pot committed. So back on Wade's Earth, we found we see that he's a car salesman, and we learned that I guess Vanessa's an office manager, which is weird. Whatever. Anyway, and there's a birthday part. Let me phrase it this way, Roxy. What did you think of, we don't get a lot of screen time with Vanessa and Peter and Mohinder and our supporting cast from the previous movies. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that we had to give that up in order to not make this a 3-hour long movie with the people that we were adding, because full spoilers, with all the cameos we get that aren't brief 1-second cameos, they are a little bit lengthy. If then we wanted our core cast there with us, then I think the movie would have gotten just too long and too convoluted. That is why I believe this is Deadpool and Wolverine, not Deadpool 3. Although this is Deadpool 3, but it's not called Deadpool 3 because this is like Deadpool and Wolverine. You said that we didn't get that much Wolverine. I've heard that criticism from a lot of people. It's not how I felt, but I think that by screen time and by like arc comparison, I could see where you guys are coming from. And we also don't get any. Well, we do get one of his side characters, but we don't get like his world as much as we get Deadpool's. Obviously, we strip him from his world, so we don't get his world as much. But I don't think that there was really any way to really show the people that we wanted. From the Deadpool movies, except for in the areas that we did. I love that end look that we get with him and Vanessa at the table. I love the Peter plot point with all of the Deadpools like rushing him. So they did have little moments. I love, of course, his roommate poking in a couple of times. She's one of the funniest parts of Deadpool to me.
Blind Al.
So I love her. I think she's so effing funny. Like prepping for this, I was rewatching some Deadpool stuff and I was like, that actress should be booking left and right. She is.
She was in. She's in Fallout. What was I was watching something else with my wife that she was in as well. She's in a lot of stuff.
Her timing is just spot on. Her delivery is A+. So, would I have liked more, especially Vanessa, because lover of love, shipper of ships? Yes, definitely. But I get why they didn't do that in here. What were they going to do? Just keep loading the sandwich?
Yeah, so we don't get a lot of them. They're pretty much there to set up the fact that Wade is abducted by the TVA. The head of the TVA that we see here, our TVA liaison here is Mr. Paradox, played by Matthew McFadden, who you may know from Succession. He was arguably my favorite character in Succession, him and Cousin Greg, and he continues to be great here. He is awesome.
That's interesting. He's everybody's biggest criticism, DJ.
And elaborate.
I loved him as well.
Yeah.
I love him as well.
Yeah.
People thought that his tone was completely off base. People thought that he did a really poor job in this role, that it was not believable, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
Because what do you mean not believable?
Yeah.
I feel like he came in and really made the character his own, a character that could have been so lackluster, and he was funny and engaging, but it seems like a lot of people had big issues with his performance. He
is saddled, unfortunately, with a lot of the exposition, which is including, I argued in my review, and I'd still argue that adding Deadpool's meta humor to the already convoluted continuity of the multiverse situation in the MCU makes things really challenging. So when we're like, the premise is they're pulling Deadpool over, it's very meta. It's basically like, hey, you're worth coming over to the MCU, but the rest of your universe isn't, and it's dying because Wolverine's gone. And so now you have to buy in, like, okay, the meta reasons this universe is going away are the actual reasons in universe as well, which I'm the type of person that struggles with that. But if you buy into that, unfortunately, his character is saddled with explaining all that stuff. But there's specifically a moment at the end where, I guess we're in spoilers, so spoilers for the movie. He gets caught by the TVA because he's coloring outside the lines, and he tries to bullshit his way into trying to get out of it, which is he's able to like dial right back into his character in Succession. I'm like, this is great. This is really funny, and it's a good use of this actor. And I just like him. I think he's great. Anyway, I like that actor a lot. So he pulls them into the TVA to save his universe because we're introduced to the idea of anchor bangs. I am going to go on a tangent, Roxy, in that, because to your point about if you're tired about the multiverse stuff, I don't like the concept that like, the main character of your universe is gone, so now it's going to go away. It tiles into one of the parts I didn't like about the Christ the Spiderverse, where if Spider-Man changes his origin story, the entire universe goes away. So somebody could be playing golf, and because somebody they've never met and don't know died, now their universe goes away. I'm like, that's stupid to me. But anyway.
I love that. Can I tell you why?
You please.
It's like one of my favorite concepts that they can do. And the way that they said it, I love so much, because I think life keeps telling us all how small we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, with what's going on in the world, with the election and the pandemic and everything that has been, even like, this isn't the world, this is our industry, the strike.
Yeah.
It keeps telling us you are small. You don't really make that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You're just one person. And maybe, but some people, all people maybe, are capable of really changing the world. And that's kind of what, like, I look at it. Like, I aim to be a type of anchor being where I can impact positively, hopefully, so many people. I'm not saying that when I die, I want the world to collapse. I'm just saying, like, I think that giving power back to the people and showing that it's just a cool concept to me, that you could be that important. You could make that big of a difference. You could matter. It's possible.
Yeah, I come at from the opposite angle, to where if it was in our universe, like, Robert Downey Jr. died. So now, guess what, DJ? You don't get to see your son because he was the anchor being. He was the anchor being. You're not the anchor being. There's only the one anchor being.
They said thousands of years it takes.
Yeah. But it's the same. It's too meta for me. I think I think watching these movies, we've gotten too meta with them, to where there's almost no in-universe, like the in-universe explanations don't hold together for me. But here's what it does provide. It does provide an excuse for Wade to go through multiple universes to find a Wolverine to help save his universe. And this is where we get a lot of really cool, really deep cut, Easter eggy Wolverines. We get, to go through them, we get Hugh Jackman playing the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. We get him as a crucified Wolverine from this iconic X-Men cover. They even go, if you look at the bottom of this cover, if you're watching the video, there's skulls at the bottom. They do all that. They go through the whole thing. We get Patch. We get Wolverine in his iconic brown costume, which I actually would argue as cool. I'm typically a yellow and blue costume guy. But when I saw him in that brown and orange costume, I'm like, ooh, that's the money. That looks really good in live action. That looks good. And they tease him fighting Hulk. Great. Here's the one I wanted to spend some time on. We get just one alternate actor playing Logan. And that one actor is Henry Cavill. And seeing that, I'm like, that's your guy, guys. If he's available, he should be your guy he should be the new guy.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way. I thought that was really fun to see, but I don't think he should be the guy.
Why shouldn't he be the guy?
For, I think, 80 reasons.
Okay.
Do you want me to stop and list them?
You can list some of them. Maybe not 80, but some of them.
I love that Wolverine's a little shorty.
Yeah.
I think that that's great. And Henry Cavill, to me, doesn't look like Wolverine at all, and doesn't embody Wolverine at all. He embodies Superman, and Superman doesn't embody Wolverine.
Yeah, but also if on The Witcher, he's throwing off Logan vibes left and right in Witcher.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah.
Just to me, no.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
And I would argue, no, he's not short. Although I took this as, there's a pretty funny joke where we get Hugh Jackman a short Wolverine, and I took that as the movie seeing like, see, isn't this kind of stupid? If we tried to do this, wouldn't this be stupid? And even though Henry Cavill is not short, he does have the build. He's a much bulkier build than Hugh Jackman tends to be.
I don't look at him as somebody who has the build because he's so tall. So he's like, the build to me is somebody who's kind of like stocky.
Okay. All right.
More
I'm
like a Shia LaBeouf build, I guess.
Oh.
No,
I know. I understand. I just
certainly not my pitch for the role.
Yeah. So he ends up grabbing the Wolverine that you see in all the Wolverine that is the Wolverine in the movie, which we learn is supposed to be the worst Wolverine. And it's not completely spelled out why he's the worst. basically he got drunk and left one day, and then all the X-Men died, and somehow that makes him the worst Wolverine. Which, if you recall, back in Logan,
how is that not completely spelled out?
it's just lazy. It's just a lazy. It's an
But it is
uninteresting.
spelled out, whether you think it's
Okay.
lazy or not. How is that not spelled out?
I don't know. It feels weak. It feels weak. He wasn't there. It's not his
I felt
fault.
awful for him. Like, he was seemingly dark, depressed, addict behavior, left all his friends. They all died, and the world never forgave him and didn't want him even drinking in their bar.
Yeah. And if
That's what happened in Logan to you?
Yeah, and Logan, all the X-Men die, and he's sad and he's lonely, and he's trying to make up for letting all his friends down. It's the same arc. It's literally the same arc.
It's not the same arc.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we have this Wolverine. They are sent to the Wasteland, which allows them for a lot of cheap locations. Not the Wasteland. Sorry, I forgot. I made these notes like the night we saw it because I didn't want to forget stuff. It's the Void. Excuse me, everybody. It's not the Wasteland. It's the Void. So
can you tell, like, what about the Void looked cheap to you? Like the quality of the sand, or just that there wasn't that much there, or what looked? It just looked like the same thing we do for a lot of TV shows, that we just went to a quarry and we filmed in a quarry. It's the same thing. That's how Power Rangers saved money for decades. We just go and film in a quarry. But it didn't look good, or you just felt like there should be more going on? I think Sean Levy is a competent director, but he's competent. So a lot of the action scenes are serviceable. A lot of nothing's like really exciting or interesting or engaging. And you could just feel we're filming here to save money for spoilers, Chris Evans to show up and to get all these, to convince, to coax Wesley Snipes out of hiding. Like that's what we're saving our money for. You thought the big desert thing looked good? Oh my God, I thought it looked amazing. I kept thinking to myself, how are they doing this? Which part? Like, it was just so vast, and like, it looked like Mad Max to me, and that is the Mad Max set. So I was like, whoa. And I love that they called to that, because it's so Deadpool to like make these pop culture references and be quoting. I thought that was effing hilarious, but I thought it looked sick. And then I loved the actual building. The face looked like, I thought that looked the dead Ant-Man. Yeah. Oh, and I loved the transportation, the way that looked. Yeah. I just thought it looked so cool. Yeah. My argument is, again, this movie has a bad habit of pointing to better movies. Like, hey, remember Mad Max Fury Road? And like, yeah, that's a good movie. You don't look like that. You don't look as good as that. I like this movie as much as I like that movie. No, we're going to have that. I'm sorry. We're going to have that stricken from the record. Yeah, I did. So it's like, I love that movie, and I love this movie. Yeah. So to me, it's not calling to better movies. It's calling to so many movies. It's making references left and right. And you are going back to your earlier point. I think you are right that this movie requires a lot of knowledge, like pop culture knowledge, not just like Deadpool knowledge, just the state of the industry, their personal lives, who's married to who in real life. Yeah. Like, there's even jokes. Like they joke about Hugh Jackman's divorce, which that's not one of the ones that like that one can go over your head if it does, but it's like there's a lot of those. Right. Or at one point he's like, I got to run that by Blake. Like there's a lot of references in here, which if somebody was like, I didn't get it, or that wasn't for me, I would be like, oh, that makes sense. I know DJ did get them. Yes. You understood almost every reference. So that's why it's interesting to me. Like, I was really glad, my sister's staying with me, and shout out to my little sister, who I love more than anything in the world, who does not like these movies at all. Has no interest in these movies and has never seen a Deadpool movie. And I was sitting there during the movie thinking, like, thank God she isn't here, because she would fucking hate this. Because it would make no sense to her. She wouldn't understand a single reference. Anytime anybody else is laughing, she'd be like, why are you laughing? The only thing she would have understood is that Ryan and Blake are married in real life. Like, that's literally the only thing she would have known. So the people who go to the movies that don't follow pop culture or Deadpool or any of these things, who didn't like it, that's such a fair criticism. That it's so fair. But you did. And then that's one of my favorite parts of the movie. So I thought that The Void gave us a lot of room to do that. which I thought was cool.
And I like some of those jokes, you're right, I got all the references, but I'm also a big believer in making things accessible. That was one of my main issues with X-Men 97, is it felt like a show specifically pandering to me. And it's like, don't do that. That's not what this should be. This should be, it's an animated series about, this comic book property. It should be accessible to a younger audience. You shouldn't be like a 40-year-old white guy and that's not what I'm saying for Deadpool, obviously, but like for this, it's like, I think, you have that balance. I'm not saying don't get rid of those jokes. That's not what I'm saying.
I've said to you, I mean, I believe that we should reboot the MCU.
Yeah.
So I am also a fan of accessibility, but not in the third of a franchise.
But again,
which is really the 60th of a franchise. Like that's season 3 of a show, saying to season 3 of a show, you need to be accessible to newcomers. And it's like,
yeah, I think it's just, I think you could make an argument in the third movie. Although I think if I were making the third installment of a movie, I would want you to not have had to see the other two still.
Maybe.
That's what I would aim for. But it is trickier, I think. I see the point you're making, but I would argue that with having seen the third installment of a movie, they have to seen like 20 other movies. It's like that, which is our argument for like, maybe you start from scratch, or maybe you just rely on that less for your third. And I would also argue this. To me, I think the moments the movie really clicked were anytime it was specifically focused on Wade and Wolverine. And I think because we're so loaded with cameos and references and callbacks and whatever, we don't have a lot of time for that. And it's like, your movie is Deadpool and Wolverine. That's where you should spend your energy more.
Like the car scene really worked for you?
I liked the car scene. I liked a diner or whatever. Because I feel like what the movie did was, because this Wolverine doesn't know who Deadpool is when they first meet. He's like, get out of here, lady, or whatever. It's a joke. So he has no relationship there. And we kind of like, they meet, and then it's like, well, Deadpool and Wolverine. It's like, yeah, but what would interest me is seeing them get to know each other, seeing them learn each other's limits, seeing them interact. You know what I mean? That's what they just kind of throw them in like, these two, they're hanging out all the time. It's like, no, but you just established they don't know each other. And I know in real life that they're friends, but I would like to see that develop more.
And you didn't feel like we did see that?
No, I really felt like, I think the Deadpool and Wolverine of it all, that it was more like Deadpool. I argued in my video, it's like Deadpool jerks off the MCU is what it is. And then Wolverine's there in the background being like the straight man. And it's like,
we kind of shredded the MCU at times.
Yeah. But it's clear, like a lot of the jokes are, he wants to be part of the MCU. He wants to be a part of the Avengers. He wants to be a part of the good universe. He even says, fuck. Like he breaks the fourth wall so much that he destroys a camera. And one of the things, like he's begging to be a part of the MCU, which I think kind of undercuts it a little bit.
Huh.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely didn't feel that way. What did you feel about, we're talking about the Void. How did you feel about Chris Evans?
I love Chris Evans. I thought that was one of the best reveals. Reminder that I think he and Ryan Reynolds are also friends in real life, because he has a cameo in Free Guy as well. I thought they played that reveal perfectly. It's one of the few reveals that didn't get spoiled in the trailers. They set it up where you think it's going to be Cap, and then it ends up being Chris Evans back as Johnny Storm. And it allows Chris Evans to do what he loves to do now. He did it a lot pre-Cap, and he loves doing it post-Cap, where he gets to be an A-grade asshole. And I thought it seemed like he was having fun, and I was having fun with him having fun.
It was my definite favorite. I'm going to call it a cameo, but it really wasn't a cameo. It was like a role. And I love the disappearance of him. Like, he's costing the budget too much. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind of things that I really liked. And then I love bringing him back for the credits.
The post-credits scene.
But yeah, I thought that was great. I really, really didn't want to see him as Cap in this movie.
Yeah.
The second we saw him, I was like, oh man, I'm so excited about this, but I really don't want to see him be Cap right now, because like that's not the purpose of this movie, and that doesn't really make sense, and it'd just be so overshadowing. And Chris Evans has not wanted to come back as Cap yet, and why in this movie it just doesn't work. So I just thought that was a really great way to involve him. But again, to your point, that makes it even less accessible that it's not Cap. I mean, I'm sure there are people who were like, what is happening?
Yeah. Dude, when we were coming out of the theater, there were people around me like, wait, I haven't seen the previous Deadpool movie. So I was like, I'm sorry. Even if you just seen the previous Deadpool movies, I'm sorry to you. It reminded me of when I came out of I went to a screening of Infinity War, and then I went to see it. I didn't like it, and I went and saw it again to see if I could like figure out why I didn't like it. And when I was leaving the theater the second time, there's people around me like, wait, I only saw Avengers 1 and 2. Who was this character? Who is that? You know what I mean? Who is that? And it's like, yeah, man, like it's tough. I'm sympathetic.
You didn't like Infinity War?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't particularly like Infinity War. I think it's fine. I like Endgame. Endgame's more of what I wanted. So I'll take an Infinity War to get me to Endgame. Yeah.
My argument on this movie is never going to be that this movie is accessible.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, it was accessible for me.
Then we get to our other cameos. The other big cameos we have Deadpool and Wolverine do a little team up with Jennifer Garner's Elektra, Wesley Snipes' Blade, and Channing Tatum as Gambit. And of course, X-23. Yeah, X-23.
Who's your favorite of these four?
Of these four, they handle it's again, it goes to the inaccessibility of it. It goes to, I'm getting some of the negative out of the way so I can get the positive. It goes to we try to sell it as this is the send-off to those characters, which I think is a good idea. I wish they got to do something cooler, but I think they all work. I think Jennifer Garner as Elektra is that's a good deep cut, widely I've never seen that Elektra movie, but I know people don't like it. There's also a good joke where they say Daredevil died, being Ben Affleck, and she's like, "That's fine." I'm like, "That's a good." Again, it's a deep cut, but it's a good joke.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure a lot of people didn't understand it.
Yeah. We get Wesley Snipes' Blade, and it took me a second with some of the jokes, and then I remember that's right. Ryan Reynolds was in a Blade, and Wesley Snipes notoriously hated Ryan Reynolds in a Blade. And so I don't even know if these two are on set together right now, but it is crazy that he is here. And the deepest cut has to be, this is what I was talking about. I've had to talk around with people. Channing Tatum as Gambit, because to get the joke, you have to know that Channing Tatum was cast as Gambit in a movie that never got made.
This was maybe my favorite. I'm sorry. I know that this is probably your least favorite of them, DJ. And it's not actually my favorite because like Blade's probably my favorite, but then also X-23 does the most, so those ones would outweigh this. But it was the funniest to me.
Like, it's easily the funniest. Yeah, easily.
I thought this was hysterical. Like the whole like speak up. I don't know what you're saying. The accent, like the movie will never get made. All the references to like, just at least you guys got a chance to be in a movie, whatever. I thought that Channing Tatum nailed this.
Yeah.
And I thought this was so funny. Again, wildly inaccessible because not only did nobody on the planet see this movie, but I would say 95% of the planet doesn't know this existed. So like ridiculous for them to do this, but for me, and all I can do is as my experience, I was crying. I thought this was like so fucking funny.
It works because, you know, to the accessibility point, like I originally was going to go see this with my wife, and it's like my wife would get nothing out of it. This would mean nothing to her. But one, Channing Tatum as a comedy cameo person, he's always so fucking game. And at first you think, okay, so this is his opportunity to be like, hey, here's what I would have done it with Gambit.
Right.
But I think they do the smarter thing of like, but it'd be funnier if I didn't understand what you were saying. If like, what if your Gambit was stupid though? Like, what if it was kind of lame? And God bless Channing Tatum for being like, sure, man. Yeah, man, I'm down. Let's make it a joke.
Like he didn't use this as because this is his actual life, and this could have been a life-changing role for him.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's turn it into one big joke.
Yeah.
And instead of like him being like, no, I really want to use my chops, he was like, yep.
Sure.
Oh gosh, I really think that he is. This was my exact issue with him in first. What was the astronaut movie I just saw with him? Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly Me to the Moon. Yeah.
I love Channing Tatum, but there's something about him that is so dopey to me. And so like watching him in Fly Me to the Moon as like the straight man at like NASA working, whatever, I was like, but make me laugh, funny guy. Like, it was so unfair, but just was what I visualize. So then going from that to this, I was like, yeah, he's so funny. He's so funny.
It's also helpful that I do Mutant Academy with Sal, and we've been watching X-Men the animated series, and of course that brings me back to my 90s nostalgia for characters like Gambit. I'm like, I want to see this. I want to see full head sock, purple body armor Gambit. And then I see this movie, and I'm like, you know what? Thank you, movie. You gave it to me, and I'm like, maybe not. You know what? Maybe for the main movie, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't work like I thought it would work. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did it, but maybe, comics, animation, live action, it's not all the same. You know what I mean?
But answer, going back to me, who's your favorite cameo of the four?
Of that group, I think it's Channing Tatum because he is the funniest.
He is so funny.
I want to say X-23, but again, she kind of serves the same role. It's more, and this is my issue with it, it's more of a reminder of Logan. You know what I mean? And so it's like, this is, even though it is the least accessible, it is also the funniest. And they're clearly having the most fun with it.
Yeah. My only issue, not only, but I call this a perfect movie. I don't actually think it's a perfect movie. No movie is perfect, but I really love it. My biggest issue with the movie actually was X-23. I think that she is an unbelievable actress. I'm so excited for all the success she's having.
Yeah.
She's going to continue to blow up. She's going to be a massive mega movie star. Even though I don't think she's a household name yet, she will be in 5 years.
Yeah.
So good. I think it was weird to watch her in a room with Wolverine, even though it's not her Wolverine.
Yeah.
And then to do that side scene at the fire pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not have her be shooketh at all. Not that she's a shook character.
Yeah.
But this was all about hyping him and you remind me of him and stuff. But I kind of wanted to hear about her. What is this experience for you? Because the last time you be seeing this guy, was the most devastating, horrific moment ever.
Yeah.
So I think she should have been a tiny bit affected, and she was. And this isn't a performance thing. This is clearly a direction thing and a story thing.
Yeah.
It was clearly no, this is what you're doing. You're convincing him. You were never the guy. This is about him, not about you. But I love that character. I love her character. So how are you doing, girl? I wanted some kind of something about her.
It's also unclear. Is that? I think we're led to believe that's
our
the same.
X-23?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're led to believe that it is, except we've also been told that Wade exists in the same universe as the Logan Wolverine. And so why was she pulled out? That universe isn't dead yet. So why is she in the void? So then is it a different one? And so how does that compare to her experience? Right. And not that I need the movie to stop and explain that. It's just it's at a certain point for me, it just gets so loose that it's, especially when you're trying to hit an emotional moment, it's harder for me to invest in that. It's easier for me to invest in Channing Tatum having a goofy accent as Gambit than now we're doing a deep, serious moment that banks on one from a previous movie and we're not even sure if this is the same character.
And when she says you're just like him, I did think to myself, just like who?
Yeah. Just
like the one who's dead and you're X-23,
yeah,
or just the one who's still alive in your world,
yeah,
and you're in the void. What does that mean for you moving forward? It was just the only part of the movie where I was way too in my head, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And that's not what their desired effect was. Obviously, they wanted this to be a sweet moment between. And good thing that the movie did a moment between X-23 and Wolverine, because they needed a moment in the movie.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the moment and wasn't affected by the moment, and that means that it didn't work.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. Totally. So now we get into our final climaxes. There's a fight at Cassandra's base with all the people we picked up. Then we get back to Wade's world, and there's a fight with a bunch of other Deadpools. That's a funny gag. Nice Pool. They got some good mileage out of Nice Pool, who does not have a healing factor.
It is cool that we see so many other Deadpools and so many other Wolverines in this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. If you're going to do a Deadpool Wolverine movie that takes place in the multiverse, we better be seeing a bunch of Deadpools and a bunch of Wolverines.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
And we get Wolverine with his masks finally, and I thought it looked pretty good in my opinion. Me too. Yeah, and then they save the universe, yada, yada, yada. If you've seen the movie, you know. And if you haven't seen the movie, I don't want to spoil it for you. They save the day.
Pause for Lady Deadpool for a second.
Yes.
So the whole rumor about this was that it was going to be Blake Lively or it was going to be Taylor Swift.
That was yes. Some
That
people
was the
thought
whole rumor going.
some people thought it might be Miranda Baccarin who plays Vanessa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been my favorite. I love Miranda Baccarin.
Yeah.
But just to clarify, so it is Blake Lively and it is nobody else.
According to the credits, Lady Deadpool was played by Blake Lively. Which I'm a little bummed because Sal and I speculated, because before I saw the movie, there was a trailer that teased Lady Deadpool. And we were both like, it should be Blake Lively, because if, anybody that's been in a relationship for a long time knows, nobody can shred you like your spouse. And also a lot of mannerisms overlap. And so it's like, I bet Blake Lively could do a pretty mean Ryan Reynolds. She could probably do one. And they didn't let her do it. It's like, do more.
I wanted to see more. Like, because there was so much hype around this, and then it is Blake, and we see that in the credits, but I didn't even know for sure it was her until we see the credits, because the voice kind of sounded like Taylor's.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's happening here? And then we don't get anything from it. And I was like, wait, but this was in everybody's predictions, Lady Deadpool. And I was like, all right, it's cool that we see her. And I thought she did look awesome.
Yeah.
But I wish that we got a little more from Lady Deadpool.
This is one of those times where it's like, if the movie just pumped the brakes right at this moment and had like 3 minutes of them just ripping in each other, do that. That's a good instinct right here.
Because are you guys telling me that you got her on set?
That's a good question. Because I did. Somebody in the chat, I don't know if I can pull up. Somebody in the chat was like, Ryan does a really good job with the dance moves in that opening scene. It's like, we don't know that was Ryan. Yeah. We don't know that was Ryan.
We see that one picture that went everywhere of Blake Lively kissing Deadpool.
Yeah.
From being on set.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have to assume that that's that day.
Yeah.
Unless she was just visiting her husband, which is possible.
Yeah.
But are you telling me that's her in the suit and that's what you guys did with her half day?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about that, man.
Get some jokes. Maybe it's a deleted scene. It's a good opportunity for jokes. Get some jokes in there.
I was hoping it was going to be a post-credit, which it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a good one. I like the post-credit joke we got was good because it plays off the Chris Evans bit. But you could have snuck another one in there. You could have.
Yeah, totally.
So we have some questions from the Discord. Following up with Mike Joyce question. Also, how mad are you that we never got Channing Tatum's Gambit movie after seeing him in all his glory in the movie?
It's not how I felt at all. I didn't feel afterwards like, oh, bummer that we didn't get this. I felt like that was awesome. Glad that happened.
Yeah. That's good enough. Because again, like we said, I don't know that it's a good indicator of what the movie would have been like. And I love Gambit. I grew up in the 90s. I love Gambit. Can he carry a movie on his own? I don't know. I don't know that I think he can.
You mean the character, right?
The character. I don't know that the character of Gambit, as much as I love him, I don't know that he can support a movie. I would love to be surprised because I do love the character. He's one of my favorites. But, he's not Wolverine is all I'm saying. Jake Hefner asks, what do you think is Deadpool's future in the MCU going forward? What would you like it to be? Well, I got to think they're going to try and pay off that Thor crying over Deadpool thing. I got to think that was intentional.
For sure. I wonder if they know what that is yet, or if they were just like, we'll figure that shit out.
I hope they do know. I hope it's not one of those, like, they have to bend over backwards to make it work. I hope it's like, no, this is the thing we're going to do.
In Justice League, where it's like, we have to go back, that Flash, Affleck, and then they kind of didn't know, but then they did know, whatever. Yeah. I was like, oh, I wonder. My bigger, and I understand this isn't answering your question, but my bigger question is, what is Wolverine's future?
Yeah.
After this, like Deadpool's future, I feel like he can do a ton of pop-ins. I think that clearly they are leading towards him and Vanessa getting back together.
Yeah.
Like him hitting his stride. He can kind of do a bunch of one-off movies. But Wolverine, I'm like, oh, whoa, what? Is Hugh Jackman still our Wolverine?
I imagine he will show up in Secret Wars, definitely. And maybe that's where we resolve
Jackman or Wolverine?
Hugh Jackman. And I am slightly concerned with how precious it's felt like the MCU is with the Fox Universe casting. Like Kelsey Grammer comes back as Beast. We now have Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, Patrick Stewart as Professor X. And it's one of those things that's like, it feels like they don't know what audiences want anymore. It's like, no, I want to see your guys' version. I want to see the Tom Holland Spider-Man equivalent of Wolverine. I want to see the MCU's Wolverine. I've seen Hugh Jackman 20 years now. He's great. But I want to see the guy that's going to hang out in your universe. And I don't even want it to be him. He's done it. They have jokes in this movie of it being they're going to have him do it till he's 90, but it's like let him go.
Yeah, and it's like there's only one. Oh no, is it Blade who says there's only one Blade?
Yeah, and then it's funny. That was an interesting joke. Ryan Reynolds spikes the camera, and it's like, is this a joke because he knows Mahershala Ali's going to be Blade, or is it a joke that the Mahershala Ali Blade's never going to happen, or maybe it's both jokes simultaneously?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because they do get a couple digs in there. One of my favorite bits is Wade saying to Hugh Jackman, like, you're joining at the MCU at a down. A moment when they're a little bit down. It's like, yeah, that's a good.
That was funny.
Yeah.
See, that's what I didn't feel like it was Ryan Reynolds jerking off Marvel the whole time. It definitely was him wanting to be part of it, but I feel like he did shred. I think Disney played ball here. They kind of shredded Disney at times.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yes.
But this is like, it is interesting to me that you loved the She-Hulk finale.
Yes.
Because this felt like the She-Hulk finale to me.
I would argue that I understand what you're saying, but I would argue the She-Hulk finale was less beholden to. It didn't like jump over to like Loki and stuff like that. And the final
definitely
moments.
True. Absolutely,
it was more focused on her and the character and acknowledging like, wait, time out. This isn't. I'm not the big final fight where every character shows up person. And it definitely did. The She-Hulk finale definitely did speak to me more, but it was inside baseball. I still think it was more accessible than this. But I also think She-Hulk comes from a Rick and Morty writer, so I think She-Hulk was a little better. It was better written. The jokes were better.
I love both. Yeah. I love both.
Yeah. I'm not going to make you choose. I'm not going to be one of those people. Leonard Kim, how do you think Deadpool and Wolverine will launch the mutant saga of the MCU?
Is it launching that?
I don't think it is. Didn't feel like it to the degree that Deadpool ends up going back to his universe at the end. Like there's not really. He basically has a little romp through the MCU and then goes back home at the end.
Yeah, no, I don't know that that's what it's doing.
Yeah. Do you think there's any chance that we're building to Secret Wars? I do think it is extremely, especially with the reveal that we're recording this part of the episode but prior to any announcements at Comic-Con. So if they've already announced this at Comic-Con, sorry. But everybody's being led to believe that the Fantastic Four movie takes place in an alternate universe, which means there's almost no way we get out of Secret Wars without universes being consolidated. Once that happens, do you think there's a chance we get a different Deadpool? Like a not Ryan Reynolds Deadpool?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Maybe. It seems like Ryan really wants to keep doing this.
Okay.
And for as long as he wants to keep doing this, I don't see them doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Unless legitimately Blake's like, I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
It wouldn't surprise me if they do something, because I've had based on some things I've seen recently, it seems like Ryan Reynolds is like, yeah, I love this, but also I'm tired. Doing these movies takes a lot of energy. And so it wouldn't surprise me when you're talking about him popping over. He's done 3 movies. So I could see them pulling Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, where it's like, okay, you got 3 movies, and now you pop in other people's movies, and then we retire you. You know what I mean? And I could see that maybe happening with Secret Wars. It's like, okay, we're retiring Deadpool, especially since I don't know how devoted they're going to be to doing R-rated movies after this.
Yeah,
like
possibly.
He makes a couple cameos prior to Secret Wars, and then get him out of here.
How is this movie doing financially right now?
I think great. I think it's blowing the doors off. I think it's doing, based on pre-ticket sales. I don't know what the box office is sitting at now, but I think pre-ticket sales, people were like, this movie's going to be the movie that saves the summer box office.
Okay, but Inside Out already did that.
Yes, good point. Inside Out is doing really good. Inside Out 2 is very good. Roxy, have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I saw it, DJ. It's so good.
We should talk about that on what we're into. It's so good.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's so good. I took myself on a date. It was so nice.
Good choice. That's a good movie to take yourself on a date on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For the people at home, I was actually asked on a date that night, and I said, no, I'm very busy. And I took myself to Inside Out.
Wow.
I really wanted to see it. It was my first night off in a long time.
I support that decision. I support
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, I support it. So yeah, but I think it's doing well. To answer your question, I think it's doing really well.
Good. Oh, it made 38 million last night. So then I don't think that they'll be gun shy about R-rated movies.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie just gangbusters. Why would they? Disney money, Disney.
Well, listen, gang, those were our thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. Let us know how much you hate me in the comments down below. Let us know what you thought about the movie. Please like and subscribe, all that jazz. Please, please, please go over to hellbentcomicbook.com and check out my Kickstarter for my supernatural thriller. If you didn't like my Deadpool takes, don't you worry. Hellbent's a completely different ballgame. It's for people that like Sandman and Preacher and Something is Killing the Children, supernatural thrillers. This is the collected edition of all 3 previous volumes plus new stories. Please, like I said, we're only like 8 backers away from our stretch goal. So help us reach that. We are in the final days. Go tell your friends, go tell your family, go tell your enemies about hellbentcomicbook.com. Roxy, where can the kids find what you're working on?
Everywhere at Roxy Stryer.
You can find me at DJ Talks Trash. You can find the show everywhere that matters at Only Stupid Answers, but at Twitter/X.
You got the vowels from stupid.
And we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.